Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating conversation between Mogodot and Gurudev. We're going to explore a journey that goes from the deepest, quietest parts of the human mind all the way out to massive global issues like artificial intelligence and world conflict. But right at the center of the whole thing, it's a look at how just one single lifetime, guided by inner peace, has managed to impact over 1 billion people. Literally 1 billion. So let's just jump right in. During the interview, Mo Godot was just in absolute awe of Gurudev's reach. He points out that since 1981, his work has touched everyone. We're talking school kids, top-tier corporate CEOs, and even people living right in the middle of active war zones.
It's staggering, honestly. When you stop and think about the sheer scale of that impact coming from just one person's choices, it really makes you wonder, right? How do you actually make the kinds of decisions that lead to that kind of life?
Well, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at finding your inner blueprint. Then we'll explore mind, consciousness, and the present. Third, we'll talk about the true cost of war. Fourth, youth, breath, and mental health. Fifth, AI versus absolute intelligence. And finally, we'll wrap up with the nature of joy. All right, let's start with section 1, finding your inner blueprint. So, picture this. At just 19 years old, Gurudev is studying physics, which, fun fact, Mo Godot too, but he decides to pivot completely. He drops it to focus entirely on breathwork and an inner calling. Now, why walk away from a standard, secure career path for something so unconventional? Well, the interviewer borrows a concept straight from physics to explain it. Entropy. In physics, entropy points to a low energy configuration. Think of it as the path of least resistance. Gurudev applies this beautifully to human life. He suggests that when your mind is calm and you're aligned with your unique, preset mission in life, things just happen naturally. You operate with maximum efficiency and minimal forced effort. The big takeaway here is that aligning with this inner blueprint gets rid of what Gurudev calls feverish effort. And wow, is that a stark contrast to the modern world's playbook, right? We're constantly told to hustle, push, grind, and persevere until we literally hit burnout. But the source material is telling us that going against your natural, preset mission just creates completely unnecessary friction. Basically, when you're forcing things, you're fighting your very own blueprint. Moving right along to section 2, mind, consciousness, and present. Okay, prepare to have your mind blown for a second. It's a stark scientific fact that our visual world, literally everything you and I can see around us, represents only 0.03% of what actually exists out there. 0.03%. Gurudev argues that acknowledging this massive blind spot should immediately cure us of our rigid prejudices. When you realize just how incredibly little you actually perceive, it becomes a whole lot harder to be fanatical about your own worldview, doesn't it? The conversation then introduces this absolutely beautiful physics-inspired metaphor. Everything is a vibration, but try to think of the mind as a wave, and consciousness as the vast, deep ocean beneath it. Just like the chaotic, crashing waves on the surface can't possibly disturb the deep, still immensity of the ocean, the chaotic vibrations of your mind can't fully obscure the deep stillness of your consciousness. The trick? You don't need to fight the mind. You just need to realize, hey, it's merely a wave. Now, obviously, navigating the present moment isn't always a walk in the park, especially when things are turbulent. The interview makes it clear that planning is totally necessary. You absolutely have to think about your future. But, and this is a big but, getting paralyzed by past traumas or future anxieties completely robs you of the present. When you're stuck in that endless loop of worry, you literally miss out on the reality of what's happening right in front of you. So how does this scale up? Let's look at section 3, the true cost of war. When individual anxieties and rigid mindsets scale up on a global level, we get human conflict. Gurudev poignantly describes this as the absolute worst act of reason. Look at this number. $2.9 trillion. That's the estimated global spending on war and defense in 2024 alone. That is a staggering amount of money. And it doesn't just drain financial resources, it forces entire populations to live strictly in survival mode. People are forced to prioritize just staying alive today over long-term human flourishing and growth. Mo Godot actually sat down and did the math on that $2.9 trillion, and the alternatives are pretty breathtaking. If we redirected just 5% of that global war budget, we could theoretically end world hunger entirely. Just 4% could provide care to heal the sick globally. And a tiny, tiny sliver, just 1.1%, could be used to fund global peace education. That missing 1.1% is a massive takeaway here. By dedicating just a fraction of a single % of our global defense spending to peace education, we could hypothetically eradicate the root causes of future wars altogether. Imagine that. We could actually teach entire generations how to resolve conflicts way before they ever require a trillion-dollar military response.
Which brings us to Section 4, Youth, Breath, and Mental Health.
So you might be wondering, why is peace education so absolutely vital right now? Well, according to Gurudev, part of the problem is our modern education system completely ignores the fundamental makeup of who we are. He outlines 7 layers of human life: the body, breath, mind, intellect, memory, ego, and the self. In school, we're taught math, science, history, sure, but we're taught absolutely zero about how our own memory, our ego, or even our breath actually operates. And this ignorance, it leads straight to an epidemic of unmanaged emotions. And the results of that epidemic are, sadly, devastating. The interview points out a tragic statistic. Right now, a young person takes their own life every 40 seconds. That is heartbreaking. Today's youth are caught swinging violently between modern societal aggression on one hand and deep, isolating depression on the other, entirely without the inner tools they need to manage all that turbulence. But there is an actionable solution discussed in the source, and it's brilliantly simple. It all revolves around the breath. Step 1 is just recognizing that we are ignorant about our own bodies. We have to admit that first. Step 2 is utilizing breathwork and yoga to physically pull the mind back to the center. Then step 3 is using that newly centered mind to connect to the unchanging self deep inside. And by the way, this isn't some fringe niche idea anymore. This practice is officially recognized globally by 192 countries at the United Nations. Now let's shift gears to Section 5, AI versus absolute intelligence. As we look toward the future of humanity, we absolutely have to talk about the elephant in the room, the growing, pervasive anxiety around artificial intelligence. What does it actually mean for our identity? Well, Gurudev has a really fascinating perspective on this. He completely acknowledges AI as a great historical milestone. It's highly analytical, it's beneficial, but he sharply contrasts this purely analytical IQ with something he calls absolute intelligence. Absolute intelligence is our untapped human capacity for deep intuition, gut feeling, and accessing those deeper layers of consciousness we just talked about. So, while machines are out there conquering IQ, we've barely even scratched the surface of our own inner potential. And people are actually taking action to cultivate this. The source mentions a newly established Institute of Absolute Intelligence right here in the US. They are actively teaching kids how to tap into this unused brain potential. The goal is to move way beyond standard rote memorization and truly harness that deeper layer of consciousness and intuition. Basically, it's about building up the human being so we can outpace the machine in the areas that actually truly matter. And finally, let's explore Section 6, the nature of joy. After tackling such heavy global issues, war, mental health crises, the rise of AI, you kind of have to wonder, what actually motivates a person to tirelessly attempt to heal all of this? Mogadot asked Gurudev why he's constantly traveling, fighting jet lag, meeting thousands of people, and mediating conflicts. Gurudev's answer was wonderfully simple. He said it just isn't a chore. He compared it to a grandmother who finds immense joy in feeding you. True, mature happiness doesn't just sit there trying to accumulate more for itself. By its very nature, it inherently demands to be shared with others. This brings us to a really fun, provocative twist on human nature from the interview. Gurudev says that selfishness is actually perfectly fine. Yup, you heard that right. There's nothing wrong with it, provided you expand your definition of family to include the entire world. It's this concept of expansive selfishness. If you consider the whole world to be your family, then working for the good of the world is literally just working for your own joy. It's a total paradigm shift. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really powerful final thought that Mo Gadot posed to Gurudev at the end of their chat. He asked him what people 300 years from now will look back and see as his legacy. It's a brilliant question, and I actually want to turn it over to you. When you consider your own unique inner blueprint, all that incredible untapped intelligence within you, and the way you share your joy with the world, what lasting impact will your life have on the future of humanity? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.